Hello everybody, this is the iPhone channel here. Over here is another $30 phone. This is actually the HMD Vibe. Remember HMD, the company which bought Nokia? Yes, that HMD. And today I'm actually going to unbox it and review it to you guys to see how much better this phone is compared to the previous phone I reviewed for $30, which is actually, you guessed it, the BlueView 5. Okay guys, so I bought this phone at Walmart for $30. As you can see down there, yes, $30, I'm not even joking. And it is also 64 gigs as well. And unfortunately, to qualify for this $30, you do have to buy this phone at Walmart through Straight Talk. So no Walmart mobile, no Simple Mobile or anything, only Straight Talk. That's how you get the $30 promotion. And unfortunately, I do not know how long it lasts, but as you can see, the original price is actually $40. So why not? I'm actually just going to unbox it. So before unboxing, let me go through the box. So this phone has a 6.56 inch HD plus display, kind of like that of the BlueView 5. It also has a 4000 milliamp-hour battery, which could supposedly last around like 33 hours of talk time. So since this phone actually has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 680, therefore it is actually more efficient than that of the Helio 822, which is actually used on the BlueView 5. And this phone does have two rear cameras, a 30 megapixel plus 2 megapixel depth camera plus a 5 megapixel front facing camera. And just like I said about the storage, and why not, let's go to the rear. Now it actually supports micro SD up to half a terabyte, which is actually better than that of 128 gigs on the BlueView 5. And it is actually Wi-Fi calling capable. It actually has an optical processor. And this is what the box includes. So why not? Let's open it, shall we? Okay, sorry this takes a bit long, but here we go. Yes, the phone here, HMD Vibe. As you can see, powerful processor, Snapdragon 680 with the dual camera, as well as a 6.56 inch, actually a 6.6 inch HD display. So over here is the phone, and immediately does feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more premium than that of the BlueView 5. Yes, remember the previous $30 phone? Now this feels a lot better. And over here you would see some miscellaneous stuff such as the activation guide, as well as the owner's manual and the quick start guide over here. And over here I do believe is actually a port. Let me show you guys. And I do believe this is actually USB-A over here to USB-C. And over here is actually the charging brick. Unfortunately, the BlueView 5 did not include a charging brick, but luckily this phone does. Much better than many of the iPhones and Samsungs nowadays, which don't even include a charging brick. Yes. And over here, the terms and conditions for Straight Talk and SIM card ejector. So why not? I'm actually gonna set the phone up and see you guys soon. Okay guys, I finished setting up this phone, and over here is what the phone is. I did install some apps over here, and let me show you guys the version of Android it is running. So let's go into settings, and as you can see, it is running version 14. I'm not sure when 15 is coming out on this phone, if ever, but if we were to triple click, then we would find out the version of Android here. Yes, similar to the BlueView 5. The version of Android released last year. And one neat quirk about this phone is there's actually face unlock. As you can see, yes, face unlock. Quite reserved for many of the mid-range and higher end phones, but this is actually a $30 phone and it actually has face unlock, which is quite amazing. However, despite having some amazing features, of course, given this price bracket, you'll find some latency, even though I do believe this is vastly improved from the BlueView 5, given the Snapdragon 680 processor. As you can see, you could see some latency even with the 90 Hz display. And if I were to go on the internet, let's search up Wikipedia or something, and I'll show you guys there's some latency. Okay guys, this is actually Wikipedia. And I'm just going to collapse this and let's go to the English side. So even though scrolling through articles is kind of at least okay, there's still some latency here and there. It is kind of unnoticeable because this phone is so much more superior than that of the BlueView 5. But as you can see, it is still quite reasonable for like a $30 phone. And if you were to close apps, as you can see, there's some lag, but it's not too bad, especially for $30. For this phone, you can expect it to do rudimentary tasks like browsing, calling, watching YouTube, playing basic games, taking pictures, and so on and so forth. And this phone does include 64 gigs of storage. Unfortunately, due to the fact there's actually a plethora of bloatware and stuff, therefore, I did actually use a ton of storage. As you can see, about a third of my storage, unfortunately. And if you were to see, there's a ton of bloatware. Some of the apps I did not even install, such as Block and even like Pandora and stuff. Of course, Straight Talk bloatware. Yes, that's a thing. But with this much storage, this phone could be used as an MP3 player. And fun fact, the iPhone SE3, which actually costs $400, actually has 64 gigs for its base storage. And over here is the speaker test in its full volume over here. Let me show you guys. And down there are the speakers. I'm not sure if the speakers are up here, but I do believe so. And over here is a headphone jack, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Yes, quite a unicorn in today's world, as many phones actually do remove a 3.5mm headphone jack, but over here is the USB-C, so why not? I'm actually going to play. You can't go wrong with this as a $30 phone, because for $30, you would probably be buying a Galaxy S6 all the way from 2015, which actually runs Android 7, which is long outdated. But as for materials, despite the fact this feels kind of leathery to some extent, this is actually polycarbonate plastic, yes, on a rear, and on a frame it is also polycarbonate plastic, and it does feel kind of soft to the edges, a bit softer than that of the BlueView 5, but if you were to go here, then it is definitely a lot sharper, just like the BlueView 5. As well as some of the older iPhones, like the 13 or 14 series. As you can see, a bit sharper. But this is actually glass. Yes, I'm not even joking. According to HMD's site, this is actually glass here. And a fun fact about the charging is this phone could actually charge up to 10 watts. Which is kind of okay, especially for $30, but nowhere as good as many of the flagships, because many flagships could charge like at least 80 or even 100 watts. And even the iPhone could charge like 45 watts for wired. And over here is a size comparison. This iPhone is actually a 6.7 inch 15 Pro Max. And over here is the HMD. And as you can see, the HMD is slightly bigger in dimensions, but with a smaller display, 6.5 inch display, or 6.6 inch, I meant. But despite the fact this phone is a bit big, the biggest advantage it has over the BlueView 5 is the hole punch camera. Yes, just like many flagship Android phones, this phone does have a hole punch camera, which is much more premium than that of the BlueView 5, which actually have a mini camera notch. Yes, as you can see. And despite the fact this phone does have a 4000 mAh battery, which may seem small, it is quite decent for $30. Even the BlueView 5 actually does have 4000 mAh, but I've seen a 20% drain in about an hour. I'm not even sure why. I actually did some heavy tasks on this phone. I installed a ton of apps and stuff. But in reality, if you actually did some rudimentary tasks or even put this phone on standby and use this phone for maybe basic browsing and stuff, then you would expect around 1 to 2 days of battery life, which is quite insane. But in reality, because this phone is quite slow, especially when playing games. I actually played games on this phone and it is extremely lethargic. Unfortunately, with these slower phones, you would actually expect less task on a full charge compared to that of a mid-range or flagship smartphone, of course. But in reality, that's what you pay for. Because these phones take like at least 2 or 3 times longer to actually load something, hence it is less computationally efficient. But in reality, the battery life is quite long. And the benefit this phone has over the BlueView 5 is water resistance. Yes, this phone has IP52 water resistance rating. Definitely not as good as the flagship smartphones, but it is quite decent for $30 to even have water resistance of any kind or dust resistance. And not only that, I could actually find the nittage. The max brightness is actually 480 nits in typical environments and 600 nits maximum. And this phone does have a 90 Hz display, as you can see. So scrolling through menus is actually going to be a bit smoother, but in reality it is hampered by the bottlenecked processing speeds. Yes, the processor is actually a Qualcomm Snapdragon 680, which would actually hamper the 90 Hz display a bit, making it more like 60 Hz. And let's not forget, this phone does have a 720p by 1612 display, similar to that of the BlueView 5, with a pixel density of 270 pixels per inch, which is actually lower than that of the iPhone 4 from 2010, and even lower than that of the Lumia 640, which is actually a budget phone from 2015 running Windows Phone. However, the screen is a 20:9 aspect ratio. So why not let's check the performance, shall we? There are actually 8 cores in this Qualcomm Snapdragon 680. There's actually 4 efficiency cores at 1.9 GHz and 4 performance cores at 2.4 GHz, which is quite decent. This phone does have an Adreno 610 GPU, and compared to the MediaTek Helio A22 on the BlueView 5, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 definitely beats out the MediaTek by a large margin. So why not? I'm actually going to run the AI benchmark. Now, unfortunately, there is actually no Geekbench 6 support on this phone. I don't know why. So I do have to download Geekbench AI. And over here is actually the test. I'm actually going to see you guys soon. But first, let me discuss how many nanometers the Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 has. 6 nanometers versus 12 on the MediaTek Helio A22. Okay guys, so the scores are now in. It has been nearly 20 minutes. Yes, just like the BlueView 5, but the scores are actually higher. Let me show you guys on the BlueView 5 over here. Yes, in the low 200s. Over here in the low to mid 200s. And another striking characteristic is, even though there are actually 2 RAM options, a 3 gig and a 6 gig, the prepaid versions actually only have 3 gigs of RAM over here. As you can see, 1.2 gigs available. You could actually boost the RAM by cleaning up some background processes and stuff, but I do believe background processes actually do comprise much of the RAM, so you do only have 1 gig available, unfortunately. So stuff will be quite laggy, of course. And 3 gigs of RAM is actually, coincidentally, you guessed it, the same as the BlueView 5, as well as the Galaxy S6 from 2015. And due to the fact many Android devices from 2015 only received 2 to 3 years of software support and about 7 to 9 years of app support, therefore I would say this phone is much more utilitarian for the $30 price bracket, and it does basically everything you can. As you can see, you could do some light browsing and stuff, but don't expect it to do much, given this is a $30 phone. Now moving on to the internet, because this phone has Wi-Fi 802.11 ABGN AC, which is actually Wi-Fi 5, and Bluetooth 5.0, which is an improvement from the BlueView 5, because the BlueView 5 only has Wi-Fi 4. Okay guys, over here is the Spectrum speed test over here, and now it is showing the download speed, which is actually kind of impressive given the Wi-Fi. Now this is actually a different house. This is not an apartment. Unfortunately, I'm not in my Cambridge location now. This is actually in a wholly different city, about an hour away. And over here is the upload speed. And over here are the results. Now, I cannot show you guys the BlueView 5 because it is definitely biased. That is a totally different network provider, because Boston and Cambridge actually use Xfinity rather than Spectrum, like here in Worcester. And unfortunately, I could not do any call tests or anything because I do not have a SIM card. SIM cards are prohibitively expensive for this test because I will be wasting about like $30 to $40 just for 1 to 2 phone calls and maybe a few hundred megs of data. So why not? I'm just going to show you guys the camera samples. So this is actually a dual camera setup, a 30 megapixel rear camera plus a 2 megapixel depth camera, and there's also a 5 megapixel front camera as well as LED flash on the rear over here. And I do believe the photos are going to be about the same, maybe a bit better or worse, but I'm not really sure because I do not have a comparison point. So why not? Let's do the camera test. Hey guys, over here is actually the 1080p video sample. Unfortunately, this is not my house. I'm actually renting out this room from my relatives over here. Okay guys, here's actually a selfie video. I do believe this is actually in 720p, but I'm not too sure if it's in 720p or VGA. And over here is the low light sample. Unfortunately, everything is quite dark, just like the BlueView 5. But you could still record and you could see some light there. And I do believe Christmas is actually coming, but it's not coming until like the end of next month, essentially. But over here it is, the dark video sample. Okay guys, we're finally at the conclusion. Now I would actually rate this phone a 5 out of 5 in value because this phone is a tremendous value and even better than that of the BlueView 5. Yes, the perennial $30 phone I've always been talking about. The BlueView 2, the BlueView 3, the BlueView 4, and now the BlueView 5, and now the HMD Vibe. Yes, $30. This is all yours, in fact. Well, let me explain why this is a better buy than that of the BlueView 5. First off, you do have better Wi-Fi speeds and stuff, as well as Wi-Fi technology. Second off, you do have a better processor. And third off, the design just looks a lot more premium and feels a lot more premium. And I do believe this phone is a lot more snappy and intuitive. But I did notice some crashes on games. Let me show you guys. Unfortunately, despite the fact this game is quite smooth, when I click on get X2 profit, unfortunately I have no profit because the ads keep on crashing the app. Yes, I'm not even joking. And even if I play light to medium games, there is still noticeable latency. As you can see, yes, noticeable latency. This is actually wordscapes, by the way. But there's still some latency here and there. As you can see. But in reality, I do not expect much for $30. Just like what I said of the BlueView 5. For $30, this is quite a decent buy. And especially so given the fact it is actually better than that of the already decent BlueView 5. And for $30, I would expect maybe a sushi meal with chicken teriyaki and maybe a bento dinner or something rather than a phone, let alone a 6.6-inch smartphone. But this phone is quite great if you want a second or third smartphone. Say if your smartphone is in the shop, then this is a great backup phone. And this is especially a great MP3 player as an external MP3 player. And this is great as a first phone for your child if they're like under the age of 13. So this could be the best phone to give them if you don't want to waste too much money, because this phone could actually play some basic games and stuff and could actually browse the internet quite decently. And it is quite good for like Android development because many children are getting into programming. So this is quite a decent phone. And I do believe this is also a decent phone if you're looking for a second or third phone to maybe multi-app on DoorDash or Uber Eats or Grubhub, for example. Just like I said with that of the BlueView 5. As the camera is quite okay for the price, but not really stand out. In fact, quite decent. And it is also quite okay in like gaming, medium browsing, calls and music. So I would say this is a very, very decent buy, especially for $30. So thank you guys for watching. Please give a big thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and I'm gonna see you guys soon.